We're going right now 90 miles an hour. These guys are amazing. They are walking away with the race. Look at this boat handle. Whoa! They are on the Warpath. The Apache team is on the Warpath. They're going like mad. It is a sight to see. 90 miles an hour in these big seas, and nobody, I repeat, nobody is staying with them. There's nobody else out here, folks.
Apache Powerboats, the story of the toughest deep V ever built.
Look at the arm of Bob Sasetti, the magic throttle arm. Just right into that throttle arm, Phil. Show us how it's done, Bob. We're sitting here. Yeah, the Apaches are taking scalps today. They're not taking any prisoners, I guarantee you. They're showing us how it's done. I haven't heard them wing those engines one time, and this is rough throttling at 90 miles an hour, folks.
Mention offshore powerboats, and one name usually comes to mind: cigarette. For decades, the name has been synonymous with long, narrow, deep V speedboats, capable of crossing open water at incredible speeds. But among offshore racers and longtime enthusiasts, another name often commands just as much respect: Apache. Apache never relied on celebrity marketing or mass production. Instead, it earned its reputation the hard way, by producing some of the most capable rough water offshore boats ever built. To understand why, you have to go back to the beginning of the modern offshore powerboat. Until the early 1960s, offshore race boats had one major weakness. When the water became rough, they became difficult to control. Drivers were forced to slow dramatically as boats pounded violently through the waves. Naval architect Ray Hunt believed there was a better solution. His answer was the modern deep V hull, featuring a sharp entry and approximately 24 degrees of dead rise at the transom. Instead of riding over waves, the hull cut through them, providing better control and higher average speeds in rough water. It completely changed offshore racing. One of the first people to recognize its potential was Dick Bertram. After winning the 1960 Miami-Nassau race with Hunt's prototype, Bertram founded Bertram Yacht and began producing deep V boats for both racing and sport fishing. If Dick Bertram introduced the deep V to the world, Don Aronow built an empire around it. In the early 1960s, Aronow opened Formula Marine in Miami. He sold it. Then he founded Donzi Marine. He sold that too. Next came Magnum Marine. Again, he sold it. In 1969, while bound by a non-compete agreement that prevented him from starting another competing boat company, Aronow helped develop a new high-performance boat that became known as the first Cigarette. Because of the non-compete, the boat was initially built and marketed through Carey Marine, rather than under a company of his own. After the non-compete expired, Aronow secured the rights to the Cigarette name, founded Cigarette Racing Team, and transformed it into one of the most recognizable brands in performance boating. The stretch of Northeast 188th Street in Miami where these companies operated became known as Thunderboat Row. Nearly every major performance boat company in America could trace its roots back to this small industrial neighborhood. Future designers, engineers, racers, and builders all learned from one another there. Among those watching closely was a young offshore racer named Ben Kramer. Benjamin Kramer was ambitious. He was fearless. And he had already become extremely wealthy through large-scale marijuana smuggling during the height of South Florida's drug trade. Like many successful racers of the era, Kramer poured enormous amounts of money into offshore racing. But unlike many others, he wanted more than trophies. He wanted to build the best offshore boat in the world. His idol was Don Aronow. In 1978, former cigarette employee Bob Cicenti founded Apache Powerboats on Thunderboat Row with Don Aronow's support. 4 years later, Ben Kramer joined as a partner, providing the financial backing that allowed Apache to develop the legendary 41-foot raceboat Warpath.
Team Apache, a special blend of American powerboat racers. Ben Kramer, driver. At 30 years old, the youngest offshore powerboat champion in racing history. Bob Cicenti, throttle man, a veteran racer and boat builder, president and founder of Apache Powerboats. Keith Eckert, engine designer, an expert at constructing peak performance racing engines. Don Aronow, hull designer, design consultant and fabled boat builder. Maintenance and mechanical, the best that money can buy. Together, Team Apache is on the Warpath. Whoa!
One persistent myth claims Apache simply copied cigarette. The reality is far more interesting. After selling cigarette in 1982, Aronow was restricted from directly competing against his former company. During this period, he became involved in developing a new 41-foot offshore hull that would ultimately become the foundation for Apache. Bob Cicenti acquired the design for the new company, while Kramer financed the project and pushed for continuous improvement. Rather than chasing top speed alone, Apache focused on something different: control, strength, and rough water performance.
In 1981, the introduction of the twin-hull catamaran heralded the demise of the Deep V Racer. The legendary cigarettes of Don Aronow were being phased out by the lighter, faster catamarans, capable of average speeds well in excess of 100 miles per hour. So, when in early 1982, Ben Kramer, Bob Cicenti, and Tom Eckert announced the formation of Team Apache and proposed building a 41-foot Deep V Racer, the race community was unimpressed.
www.vehiculeshop.com. Enter the world of offshore powerboat racing. www.vehiculeshop.com. Losing starts with second place. www.vehiculeshop.com. Not for everyone.
The hull featured a very fine bow entry, aggressive lifting strakes, exceptional structural strength, and careful weight distribution. Drivers quickly noticed the difference. The harder the conditions became, the faster an Apache seemed to go. It was not necessarily the fastest boat in calm water. But when everyone else backed off the throttles, Apache often kept accelerating. That philosophy would define the company. Its reputation was cemented at the 1984 World Championships in Key West. Conditions were brutal. Large waves forced many competitors to slow dramatically. Warpath thrived. Instead of fighting the water, it simply kept running. The victory demonstrated what Apache had been designed to do from the very beginning: outlast the competition. From that moment on, the Apache 41 became one of the most respected offshore raceboats ever built.
Engines by the unbeatable Keith Eckert. The hull is the super Apache 41. There's nothing like it in rough water. They've got guts, and they've got handling, and they've got horsepower, and they've got talent. And they're putting it all together, much to the chagrin of the Mr. Roberts boat, right? Whoa! Look at that, spun it.
Apache's reputation spread quickly. Owners rarely talked about top speed first. Instead, they talked about confidence. And Apache inspired drivers to keep going when other boats turned around. The boats became famous for crossing rough offshore water with remarkable stability. Throughout the 1980s, Apache continued refining its construction techniques. Although relatively few Apaches were ever built, they developed an almost mythical reputation among offshore enthusiasts. The history of Apache cannot be separated from the Miami of the 1980s. Offshore racing, enormous wealth, organized crime, and drug trafficking frequently existed in the same world. Ben Kramer was eventually identified as one of the largest marijuana smugglers in the United States. Federal investigators spent years building their case. Despite his growing legal problems, Apache continued producing increasingly capable offshore boats. Then another tragedy struck the industry. On February 3, 1987, Don Aronow was sitting in his car on Thunderboat Row when another car pulled alongside him. A gunman opened fire. Aronow was killed almost instantly. The murder shocked the offshore racing world.
Witnesses say the murderer sat in his black car here yesterday for a long time, waiting to ambush Don Aronow as he left work. Law enforcement experts say the murder has all the earmarks of a contract killing.
Numerous theories circulated regarding the motive. One centered around a failed business transaction involving Ben Kramer and a government patrol boat project known as Blue Thunder. Others suggested entirely different motives.
Don Aronow knowingly received hundreds of thousands of dollars in laundered drug money for the sale of his company. That Aronow raked in lots of cash for boats he'd never built.
The IRS was looking at Aronow very closely at the time of his death, as was DEA. And indeed, it now is known that there were strong reasons to believe that the boat business was a beautiful money laundering scam.
In 1987, federal authorities arrested Ben Kramer on drug trafficking charges. He was later convicted and sentenced to multiple life terms. His departure marked the end of Apache's original ownership.
Well, the government says that not only did Ben Kramer use this business to smuggle drugs, he actually bought this business and several others with illicit drug money.
Rather than disappearing, the company continued under Bob Cicenti before eventually being led by Mark McManus. Apache shifted its focus toward high-performance pleasure boats, poker run boats, and continued offshore racing. Throughout the late 1980s and 1990s, the company remained one of the most respected names in performance boating. Apache never became a high-volume manufacturer. That was never the goal. each boat was built with one purpose: to perform when conditions became too rough for everyone else. Today, original Apache race boats are among the most sought-after classics in offshore boating. Boats like Warpath, Ben Kramer's Apache 47, and other surviving Apache race hulls have become icons of an era that many consider offshore racing's golden age. Modern catamarans may dominate outright speed, but when experienced offshore racers discuss the greatest deep V hulls ever built, one name is always part of the conversation: Apache. More than 4 decades after the first boats left Thunderboat Row, the legend remains alive, not because of advertising or production numbers, but because of what these boats proved every time the water turned rough.